Can you put the link to the live in the chat?
It will show up. It will show up on your YouTube.
She's talking to.
So
That's why we agreed that every step of the way.
It says we're live right now, actually.
All right. Hello and welcome everyone to a fireside with our expert panel on the new Black Entrepreneurship Program. We will begin this virtual conference. In the interim, please feel free to browse the sponsors and affiliate links, which can be accessed by clicking the link at the top right corner of your screen. And please drop your name in the chat below and where you're from. Good day, everyone, and welcome to our esteemed guests, speakers, and attendees. It's our pleasure to welcome you to the Fireside with our expert panel on the new Black Entrepreneurship Program. This is the second of a three-part series. For those who missed part one, please click the link in the chat room of part one and make sure you keep on top of the information sessions on these government grants. Today, our experts from academic, business, and professional sectors will speak on the Black Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub, a part of the Black Entrepreneurship Program initiated by Prime Minister Trudeau on September 9th, 2020. My name is Stephanie Sabaza, and it is an honor and privilege to be your host today. For the best virtual experience, please mute yourself upon entry into the room, and if you're joining in with a friend, please avoid using separate devices to avoid feedback. If you have low internet bandwidth, you can solve any buffering by prioritizing audio over video. This is an interactive session, so please engage with us. We want to hear what you have to say and any questions you have for our panelists. You can send your questions either to us on Instagram. Our Instagram handle is on the screen at EntrepreneursPoint PP, EntrepreneursPP, or you can use the chat below, or you can go to slido.com and use the code 74749 to engage with us. While I give the attendees time to ask their questions, I would love to know where you're joining us from. Please drop your location in the comments. I'm currently streaming live and on location from Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada. Do we have anyone in the Halton region, Toronto, Africa, tuning in all around the world? Just let us know. The Q&A session is also an opportunity for us to learn from one another. So what are you looking forward to learning today? I know I'm excited because I want to learn how I, as a Black entrepreneur, can take advantage of this amazing program. Lastly, what are your go-to sources for grant or funding resources? Drop your answers in the chat and we would love to hear your thoughts. All right, so this event is brought to you by EntrepreneursPoint, an incubator for startups, entrepreneurs, and businesses looking to create ideas for revenue. It's a space where you can collaborate, share experiences, and get inspiration from other members and entrepreneurs such as yourself. You can learn more about EntrepreneursPoint by following our social media at EntrepreneursPP on Twitter and Instagram, or visiting our website at www.entrepreneurspoint.com. I will keep the engagement and conversation going with you in the chat room, but now I'll be passing the spotlight over to one of the EP Academy faculty, Cheryl Bedard, to introduce the panelists at today's Fireside. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. I have great pleasure in introducing 3 people to you whom I believe will be of great help to you as we move forward through this program. The first one is Olatoya Oliade. She's on your screen. It is Dr. Olatoya Oliade. She is originally from Nigeria, and she has enjoyed the struggle of becoming an entrepreneur here in Canada. And so she has become successful, and now she wants to share all that journey with you and help you understand how you too can be successful. And she does believe strongly in the opportunity that the federal government has offered through these grants and wants to make sure that you have the knowledge base necessary to apply and be successful. So welcome to you, Olatoya, who is driving this force. The second one I wish to introduce is Joseph. Joseph Amankra is an engineer. He specializes in mechanical engineering and has realized through his teaching process at Ryerson and Humber and Sheridan that there is a lack of people understanding the value of the career opportunity in mechanical engineering, both from the degree perspective and also from the technology perspective. So there are many levels that you can enter into, and it is a vibrant part of our community and offers a tremendous opportunity for a good career and a good life. And so he encourages people to listen to what he has to say, and he specializes in that manufacturing part of entrepreneurship. So he has a wealth of information to share with you if that is the track you're looking at. And our last and not least, Yannick Lafang. Yannick was educated here in Canada, but he comes from and was raised in 2 countries in Africa. And he is an entrepreneur. His company is called Casa, and he is the bridge between Canadians or Africans living in Canada who wish to do business in Africa. He specializes in market research and has the current data necessary to make good decisions on how you wish to build your business in Africa. And he also has the ability to introduce you to what we call feet on the ground, people in Africa who can help you and be a resource for you as you build your business between Canada and Africa. So welcome to the 3. I look forward to hearing what you have to say and to share with everyone today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cheryl, for that kind introduction. It's always a pleasure to have you on our calls and at our meetings, and such a joy to see everyone here this morning. Well, it's afternoon now, so it's so good to be here with you all. And so to the business of the day, today we are here to talk about the Black Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub as part of the Black Entrepreneurship Program introduced by the Prime Minister of Canada, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, on the 9th of September 2020. And so good afternoon, everyone. First, let me thank EntrepreneursPoint, the team, for having us here today. They are the organizers of this event. And to all of our community leaders present, thank you so much for joining us. My co-speakers, Joseph Amankra, Yannick Lafang, Yannick representing the Francophone community, Joseph representing Ghanaian Canadians, and then of course the academia from Ryerson to York to Humber to Sheridan. Thank you so much for joining us here today. It's such a pleasure to have you. And of course, Yannick brings also the experience of the banking financial sector as a group head risk management formerly at TD Bank. And now with a leap of faith, starting the Casa Insight, his own venture as the founder and the CEO, and then recently appointed as the CFO to Gebaya Inc., which is an Ethiopian listed new joint venture capital company operating out of Ethiopia, and then with branches here in Canada, Toronto, Canada. Thank you so much for joining us. What is the Black Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub? The Black Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub is the second part in a series of 3 innovations and the 3 granting opportunities introduced by the Prime Minister of Canada on the 9th of September 2020. On the 10th of December, I believe, we had the first information session, which focused largely on the Black Entrepreneurship National Ecosystem Fund, which is a grant, a total of 53 million, with a max of 5 million amount per application, introduced to the Black community and facilitated by the Ministry of Innovation, Science and Economic Development, Federal Government of Canada, as one of the innovations and one of the solutions to the prosperity, or to facilitating the prosperity of Africans and Black Canadians. And so at that session, we shared information on what exactly the opportunity entails, the benefits of the opportunity, and how our community members, the businesses, the nonprofit organizations, the for-profit organizations, and the academia can actually benefit from all of these from all of these grants. And after that session, by the 21st of December 2020, applications closed. The feedback we received from that session, that initial segment, was that a lot of people missed the opportunity to apply, not only because they perhaps they obviously miscalculated, and they actually were not fully prepared to apply for the grant, but also in planning to make an application, a lot of people missed the deadline because the application closed at 2 p.m. Pacific time, and a lot of people assumed they just weren't sure what that meant, and so it closed. By the time people rushed to do that, we had a lot of calls coming in, and we put a call through, sent several emails to the office, to the ministry, but they had closed, and that was it. And so first thing to note on this call today is that by 3 p.m., it's important for everyone looking to apply for the Black Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub, partnering to apply for that, to be prepared to make their submissions at the latest 3 p.m. Eastern time. That's EST, 3 p.m. And so 3 p.m. Eastern time would be about, I reckon about 11 o'clock Pacific time. And so just focus, if you're within the GTA, focus on 3 p.m. EST, knowing that it needs to go in, because 2 p.m. Pacific time will be 5 p.m. Toronto time. And so that you don't get the timing mixed up. It's important to do it 2 hours before the deadline, before the application closes. And the reason is maybe because of, what we call African time, Black time. A lot of people kind of tend to put in everything at the last minute. At the last minute, the system becomes a little clogged. You don't want to get caught up with that. All right. So that's just a piece of advice for the people looking to submit applications for the Black Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub. Now, the Black Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub, applications to this particular segment of the grant will close on the 18th of January, 2021. So it's important to note the dates. All of these are duly noted. All these pieces of information are duly noted on the website of ISED, the Federal Government of Canada. And it's important that we make, we keep abreast of this. For the Black Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub, it's important that we read the guides very attentively throughout the application process and referring back to them as required and working with the application form. It's a very important piece. It's really important to do this. And the reason is it's very similar to the National Ecosystem Fund. And they have a lot of commonalities between these two grants. So what is the Knowledge Hub? And what does it entail? What is the government looking for? These are some of the questions that my esteemed panel will be answering this afternoon. The Black Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub is a partnership between community-based organizations and a post-secondary or other accredited institutions in Canada. What does this mean? By post-secondary and other accredited institutions in Canada, we mean that these institutions need to be recognized by the provincial or territorial government who is responsible for accrediting educational institutions in Canada at the province level, at the federal level, or at the territorial level. The objective of the Knowledge Hub, which is dedicated solely to Blacks and the empowerment and the emancipation of the Black community groups is to largely scale up the qualitative and quantitative studies and research and analysis on the Black entrepreneurship ecosystem in Canada. This is to provide a detailed map that the ecosystem across the country would follow to identify the gaps that exist in the ecosystem of Black entrepreneurship, meaning the businesses, for-profit businesses, non-profit businesses, social enterprises, and so on. It is important to identify these gaps and then dig into these gaps and the challenges that Black entrepreneurs face on a daily basis and find solutions to these challenges. And it is the belief of the Government of Canada at the Department of Innovation, Science and Economic Development that many partnerships must come together. Many groups must come together as partners at the execution table, at the execution level, because there will be a need to have a lead proponent to apply for this grant. A lead proponent will bring forward the proposal with several other partners, forming a consortium as lead organization, perhaps, or as a single lead organization, perhaps, to bring together and bring forward that proposal representing the Black community across board, and then partnering with an academic institution. Why is it necessary to partner with an academic institution? It is necessary and important to partner with an academic institution because this particular segment of this fund, the grant, is focused largely on quantitative and qualitative analysis, research, evidence-based research on Black entrepreneurship and the Black community, because the expectation then is that if we have the data, if the government has data, then they can further dig into such data to find solutions to the issues, the challenges, the gaps faced by Black entrepreneurs. For instance, we talk about the lack of access to capital, the lack of access to partnerships, the lack of access to patronage, clients, such that even when people come together and form their businesses, perhaps they're not able to attract the type of customers, patronage that they're looking for. So in the long term, some of these businesses are not sustainable because they do not have the requisite customers. They do not have the capacity to fund. Banks are not looking at the business plan, and even when they are, perhaps half of them are being turned down. So these are the reasons why the ecosystem is being put together so that some of these issues can be addressed largely. What are the eligibility requirements for the Knowledge Hub? The Knowledge Hub will be administered through a partnership of a nonprofit organization, and that organization has to be Black-led. And it could be a single Black-led organization or a consortium. So a Black-led organization goes in, makes an application, and partners with a post-secondary education institution, like a university, like a Sheridan College, like any of the colleges, a university in any part of Canada. But it has to be a Black-led organization partnering with that university to put forward the application. The consortium could also put forward an application, and a consortium will be a partnership of various Black-led organizations forming a consortium, meaning they become one organization representing the consortium of 10, 5, 20 groups. And then they still have to partner with that education institution to submit an application. For the purpose of the application of the Black Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub, similar to the National Ecosystem Fund that closed on the 21st of December, the Government of Canada defines the Black-led organizations that are not for profit as having 2/3 of their leadership positions, the directors, the founders, and the leadership as primarily Black, or people who identify or self-identify as Black people. The governance structure also must be primarily composed of people who self-identify as Blacks, and that will be a minimum of 2/3, and the mandate, the activities, the outcomes, the initiatives of such organizations must be focused on supporting the Black Canadian community. This is very important to note. This is the definition of Black-led organizations by the federal government of Canada. The academic institution or the post-secondary institution that will participate at the Knowledge Hub in the process of the application that you need to partner with for the purpose of this application grant need to demonstrate capacity to conduct qualitative and quantitative studies It needs to demonstrate its linkages to the entrepreneurship ecosystem in Canada, as well as the Black Canadian community. It needs to demonstrate very clearly its ability to safely collect, anonymize data, and protect the privacy of everyone and the process itself of collecting the data. And this is the expectation of the academic institution. All right, and so the application requirements are clearly noted on the website, and at some point we're going to drop the link to the website. It's actually in section 3.2 of the application guidelines for the Black Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub. The project is a national hub, and this call is to fund one single hub, similar to the Women Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub that was initiated by the federal government of Canada about a year and a half ago. So the call then is a $5 million contribution. And the $5 million contribution will be given to one single organization. Remember, we defined that organization as either a single Black-led organization or a consortium of Black-led organizations partnering with an academic institution. The project must reach and represent a national audience. So it has to be a national Black Canadian entrepreneurship ecosystem. It cannot be focused on Ontario or Quebec alone. It has to be national in scope. And that's why it is recommended that a partnership of several organizations come together to present a proposal in this regard. The project proposal also needs to be multi-year with activities and outcomes duly articulated on the proposal, meaning between March, whenever it's approved, but from 2021 at least. The project is expected to span about 4 solid years, 2021 to 2024. The completion date of any project being proposed by this proposal must be March 31st, by March 31st, 2024. Again, the budget is $5 million, and it cannot exceed that amount because it needs to be split out through the tenure of the project. Because it is national in scope also, there's a need to deliver services and products in official languages of Canada, meaning English and French. The project must seek to serve the full diversity of the Black Canadian community, including underrepresented groups like women, gender diverse groups, low-income earners, official minority language communities, people with disabilities, and other groups that are marginalized. And so you see on the call today, you have speakers from the Francophone community, you have from various communities, and people who also have consulted widely within the African and Black Canadian communities. And so those are the people represented on the panel today. So what are the activities of the Black Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub? One of the major findings of evidence by the Ryerson University is that the main bane of the Black community is a lack of access to capital, a lack of access to networks, a lack of access to clients, to capital, to networks, and also having the purchasing power, the capacity, the resources, and the ability to scale existing businesses. A lack of competence, a lack of skills was not really identified as a major issue within the Black community. And so what this tells us today for all the people on the call and those who will be watching later is that although a lot of people within the Black community might have some knowledge, skill, competence, however, the incapacity to scale their businesses, to attract the right networks around their businesses, or to attract the right networks around whatever initiatives that they have put together has actually limited the Black community from empowering its people. The Knowledge Hub, therefore, that is being proposed by the federal government of Canada will work to increase access of Black entrepreneurs to business support organizations across the country. And so there will be an introduction to clients, to patronage, to supporters, to advisors, to consulting firms. And some of these connections would help to break down perceptions, will help to break down discrimination, will help to break down the various issues that the Black community has been faced with over the years. The Black Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub will work with the business community to improve entrepreneurship and business data on the Black entrepreneurship ecosystem and to get a better sense of what it takes to build sustainable businesses, what it takes to attract the right relationships, the right clients, what it takes to sustain and scale the businesses that we begin to set up. This is the purpose of the Black Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub as proposed by the federal government of Canada. The government also plans to use the Black Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub to initiate, sponsor conferences and other events in collaboration with the Black entrepreneurs and the broader community, and to look to share the best practices and knowledge amongst the Black Canadian community and other activities that are supportive of the objectives of the Black Entrepreneurship Fund. In terms of what the costs will cover under this cost, I will recommend that we each go into the onto the website of the federal government to check what this covers. But in summary, I believe it would also cover the cost of conducting research, the cost of supporting technical expertise, the cost of training, the cost of IT, the cost of data gathering, social media production, digital communication, virtual meetings, and so on. And the cost of course, disseminating all the requisite information that is involved in all of this. So this round of call for concepts for the Black Entrepreneurship Hub, Knowledge Hub, is adopted to allow organizations to focus on the key details of their projects. So what projects are you looking to propose this time? This is a call for concepts. It's not it's a call for concepts exactly the way it was done on the 21st of December. And so the concept is expected to be a brief summary, about 5 pages in total, of the project proposed activities. It should provide an overview of the key aspects of the projects, how it meets overall objectives, as well as detailing the partners, providing full details of partners represented, who is collaborating, which organizations is supporting, and what is the scope of the project. Definitely it must end by March 31st, 2024. And it must just focus on creating partnerships. This is the expectation of the federal government, that several partnerships will be created from this particular call for concepts. It is very important that the application includes a list of partners. The partners also must include a list of letters of support to show that they are really partners. The federal government will be appreciating partnerships that are brokered in 3 or 4 weeks. They understand that within 2 to 3 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks, a few groups that have not worked together directly, but have worked with similar groups that are beginning to introduce themselves and connecting the dots, will come together to form these partnerships. The letter of intention to partner should also follow such applications. And those letters must be submitted. So this is not a full-blown proposal. That's why it's only 5 pages. And that's why it's a call for concepts. And that's what is expected. This is what will be reviewed. The Ministry of Innovation, Science and Economic Development is directly in charge of these applications. However, at the point when successful applicants are selected, it is possible that each of the applicants, successful applicant, will be handed over to the regional, to deal directly with the region, the regional office within their zone, meaning if it's an Ontario applicant, then perhaps they might need to deal with the regional office for more information and things like that. But a lot of information will be coming back to each one of the applicants at the end of all of this. At this point, I think I'm going to pause now. I just wanted to provide as much overview as possible, because from the organizers today, I understand, I'm told that we have about 20-something questions already to answer. I believe that some of the questions will be have been addressed, but I think we'll be ready to roll now. I think Yannick will be handling that part. So I'm just going to pass the spotlight to Yannick Lefang, my colleague at EP Academy, And yeah, so we're ready to go. Let's answer these questions, as many of them as we can, within the time that we have. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Olu, for this wonderful introduction of the Black Entrepreneurship Program. Again, such an important program for, created by the government of Canada to support, the Black community through entrepreneurship and wealth creation. So as you mentioned, you rightly mentioned, we have a few questions. I think some of them are still coming up. So please continue to ask your questions. We'll try to answer as many as possible. And then if we can't, we'll leave you our contact information for further follow-up afterwards. So the first one, and I'm gonna, again, require the help of Dr. Olu and Professor Joseph Amankra to help answer these questions. So the first one is businesses cannot apply for Black Entrepreneurship Program, but they are supporting partners. What is the category of social enterprise for the purpose of the Black Entrepreneurship Program? So Doctor, I don't know if you want to take that one.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Thank you for that question. Now, in terms of, well, for-profit companies are not eligible applicants. They are not eligible to apply for any of this, the first two. The third part of the fund, we're going to talk about that maybe towards the end of this meeting, but this first two segments, the Black National Ecosystem Fund, the Black Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub Fund grants, they are all grants. They are only eligible applicants are non-profit organizations, Black-led, not-for-profit organizations. For this particular iteration, the Black Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub, eligible applicants are non-profit organizations. However, for-profit organizations may be contracted by the recipients of the Ecosystem Fund or the Knowledge Hub to provide services that are deemed necessary to achieve the objectives of the project. So this is where social enterprises come in. They cannot apply, but they can support and partner. So if a social enterprise is a for-profit organization, then it can actually be contracted by the recipient of any of these grants to support it in the process of executing the project or the proposal itself. So that's as far as it goes. No applications for profit or social enterprises that are for profit, but they can be supporting organizations. I hope that is clear. I think you're muted.
Yes, I was muted. Sorry, thank you so much. One thing to add though, is that for businesses, you have the Black Entrepreneurship Loan Fund, which is coming up. It hasn't been fully implemented. We're still waiting for the details, but that is specifically for businesses, and I believe for that one, businesses will be able to apply. So thank you, Doctor. So the second question is, can Foreign Npo partner with Canadian Npo for this?
I can answer that. Applicants are registered organizations within Canada. For the purpose of this one, the applicants must be within Canada. Partner organizations must be based in Canada. We can't have they're only Canadian organizations.
Okay, I think that's very clear. There was one question also. I think probably Professor Joseph can take this one. I think it's probably coming from a youth. I'm curious how the younger Black community members and organization can be involved. There has been a disconnect between the elder in the community and those of us coming up. We want to be involved.
So it's funny this question has come up because this has been what I've been trying to do for the past 20 odd years. As an elder, the first thing I normally have to say to the youth is that I need to apologize to you. We have basically dropped the ball in the lack of inclusion of the youth and understanding what they're required to succeed in society. And my organization has basically been trying to bridge that gap for quite a while, trying to reach the youth and also trying to reach the elders in the community, especially when they are involved in the engineering side of things. One of the things I believe with this new hub that's taking place now with Ryerson, which I've been working with for over 20 years, one of the things we've been trying to apply is to get the Black youth to understand the essence of engineering and how it can scope and shape their lives and the community in a sustainable way to create businesses, entrepreneurship, and so forth. But also there's a quotient to that, which is requiring the education that's required, because there is a gap between the educational sector and the business sector in the Black community. A lot of our young people are failing in school. A lot of the reason why they're failing in school is that they don't know what is available for them after school and into the education side of things. So it's important for the youth and the elders in the community to sit down and talk. The matter of respect, of understanding that the youth have questions they want to be answered, and also they have ideas, is imperative. It's imperative for our Black community that the youth have the grounding for them to succeed. And this is what I believe that the hub should try to promote. You know, the educational side of things. I'm working in the educational issues that we have with the TDSB, with Ryerson. The post-secondary education is having an issue, understanding the quality of students coming into the academic education, understanding the quality of those students coming in is something that we need to know, and that's what we're working with now with a project through Ryerson to understand what are the issues, why are our students finding it so hard when they enter the post-secondary education area, and the students themselves have the answers. But knowing how to put the questions that are required is imperative, that the elders in the community sit and listen to them. Okay, so that's basically all I can say to them. We need to get together and we need to sit down and listen to the young. Okay, we can't just say, oh, you don't know anything. You'd be surprised how much the young can teach you. So it's imperative that as young organizations, you need to get yourself together, okay, and speak as one voice. And then that one voice is now put it to the elders, and the elders themselves have to speak with one voice. And so the two will work in unison. Hope that answered that question.
Thank you very much, Professor. So moving on to the next one, I think this one is probably for Dr. Can an organization that is both an NPO and a charity apply to the Black Entrepreneurship Program? I think you're on mute.
Right. Applicants for both the ecosystem and knowledge hub funds are required to be non-for-profit. So I'm not sure NPO and charity, if they are both. What is important is that the organization is an NPO. Applicants will be required to also provide proof of status in the future stages of the application process if they are eventually selected. With this in mind, there are no restrictions for an NPO that is a charity organization from applying, as long as it meets the eligibility requirement or being an NPO.
Thank you. And then this one also is around the Black Entrepreneurship Program, and I guess how frequently will calls be made to apply for the Black Entrepreneurship Program? And this is because a lot of groups may not meet this deadline due to the criteria set. When will this opportunity come? Okay.
In terms of the Black Entrepreneurship Program, the way it is being conceived by the federal government in Canada, there are no plans for future funding at this time. If you recall, the term for this one, based on the information we have been provided and based on the information duly provided on the website, you have up till 2024. So the expectation is that everybody, latches onto this opportunity, maximizes this opportunity, find various groups to partner with at this time, so that the opportunity will not be missed. So there are no future plans for funding that we have heard of as of today, and as duly provided on the noted on the website. We're going to post that website at some point. I'm sure one of the organizers will do that. However, The plan is for us to continue to hold sessions like this. The organizers of this event have been magnanimous and creative enough to craft out various sessions and segments of this particular fireside, so that as information becomes available, very close, they allow like very close to like giving a span of a week or 10 days to application closure. They usually have the fireside so that people can still be fully informed to take advantage of the opportunities. But there are no other calls at this time until the loan fund has been fully executed.
Okay, thank you. And there was a follow-up question for Professor Joseph. I want to get to it before we forget. So this is from K. Jordan. And so I think it's related to your answer. He basically said that, this is part of the disconnect. When I say younger, I don't just mean students. I mean those who are between 20 in the 30s and 20s and 30s who are working to forward the community and our needs. So what can you say about that?
Well, but the main focus of my talk was youth, and youth range from school to the age of 30. Our organization is actually working with youth, focusing youth. And what we found when we were developing our programs, and especially in the industrial skill trades, a lot of the youth that we were targeting, there was a missing concept of the educational component. And that's why I mentioned that as an essence, okay? As for the youth component, this is essential. The youth that you mentioned are the age group that we actually are focused on, but that is addressing the need now. We also need to know what's going to come in the future. That's why it's essential that the youth now also need to portray that same sort of knowledge back to the youth that are still in school or in their educational system, because they'll be able to guide them to understand. So it's like a pass on from the seniors to the youth that you mentioned by the age group, and those youth now need to pass it on to the others as well. So when you mention that, it's all encompassing. It's not deciphering who's who and who's not. We got to understand that youth are a major gambit, and we have to look at the NEET environment as well. Those not in education and in training, those are the main focus areas. And so understanding that is that the youth is an encompassing education, even the youth still in school, it's also part and parcel of it, because you can't cut that off, because they will become the youth that you're talking about right now.
Absolutely. Thank you, Professor.
Can we add to that?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you very much. And thank you so much to Kay for that question. The idea then is in all of the solutions that have been adduced by the federal government with regards to the Black Entrepreneurship Program, there are no limitations at all, no restrictions. The application is open to both youths, emerging leaders, youths, seniors, or younger ones, no age restrictions at all. And so it's important and imperative for each person to understand also that because the application is open to every segment of the society and community within the Black community, it becomes imperative for everybody to make an attempt to apply for the funds. The only thing then is, the reason for a session like this, a fireside that we consistently hold and host, making ourselves available to answer some of these questions, is so that people can become aware, become more informed. When you become more informed, when the knowledge is available, then you can also take some informed decisions as to which partners you want to go with, as which constituents you should be going with. And so I do understand that within each of the within the Afro-Caribbean community or continental African community, for instance, there are various groups. And a lot of people are going through some of their various groups and associations. For those ones that have the capacity to represent them, some of them are going through them. For those ones that do not have the capacity, some of them also are affiliated to other groups that do have the capacity to represent them. So for instance, Mr. Joseph represents the Ghanaian Canadian Association. That's in Canada. I know that is with the one that is called the Nigerian Canadian Association. There is the Cameroon Canadian Association. There is the Moroccan Canadian Association. And there are several other pockets within the Afro-Caribbean communities. We find that a lot of youth groups are able to go with their community members where they feel comfortable. Where they do not feel comfortable, then they find other groups that they can go with. I do know for sure that there is one single consortium made up of 40 solid partners that are going for this. The key then is partnerships. The key is collaboration. And the key is finding those ones that fit your initiatives. And we can't do that sitting in our corners. We have to get out and look for viable partners, get on these various forums where these issues are being discussed, because the purpose of the information is so that we can also be fully educated about what's going on, and then we find the right partners that meet our needs. We can set up various meetings, we can call people that are already doing what we want to do and find a way to key into what they're doing so that we can apply through them. That's what a lot of these groups are doing. And that's why you have a single consortium of 40 companies, non-profits, going for this particular one. So it's important for us to note that, and there are no restrictions on age or who can apply. Thank you. I just wanted to add.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. So I think going on the same line about the consortium and applying as a group. This question is really can you consolidate the financials of the group to who apply, or only one representative is good? So basically, can you, when it comes to the financial requirement, do you consolidate that, or it's the one NPO that's applying that is supposed to provide financials? I think you're on mute, Doctor.
Thank you for that. I think that in terms of consolidation of financials, I think this is one of the clarifications. We do actually, after such sessions as this, we take back some of these questions that we're not able to answer. So I can't give a final answer on that. I can only, make some suggestions. My expectation would be that if you want to make your application really solid, my expectation would be that you possibly want to consolidate. However, remember that except a new group is formed. So the idea then is that if it's a consortium, you are possibly going to register a name for that consortium, and then you're also going to bring the resources of the various groups together into that single consortium. So that's my expectation before you submit it. And so in a consortium, only one organization is actually submitted, remember, because
Yes.
Several groups have come together to form one whole group. And that one whole group should actually be a summation of various bits and pieces of organizations. So
Okay.
that's actually my understanding of what the consortium should be. And it would mean then that resources have been put together, financials and so on. Yeah.
Sorry. So one more question. I know we have a few coming up live. So I'm going to go one more questions on the Black entrepreneurship, and then we're going to go to maybe one for Professor Joseph. This one is, will the Black entrepreneurship program be available after 4 years? Since this one has a 4-year term. I guess this one is a quick one for you, Doctor.
I think I've answered that question.
Yeah, I think you've answered that question before. Okay,
There's none coming up at this point from what I'm told.
From what we know.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a few questions. I guess I'm going to go with this. So my concern, I'm going to go to question number 8 here, which is my concern with constantly building nonprofit company is funding eventually runs out and it's not sustainable. And so how, I don't know if it's the same question, but how are bringing businesses and nonprofit so we can build sustainable program that can make money while supporting their own initiative?
I think I can.
Yeah.
You want to take that, Doctor, or do you want me to take that?
No, please go on.
Okay. Let me just say that I've experienced this, and this is one of the fallacies that when we formed our organization, we thought we could make a difference in the nonprofit sector by introducing skills and so forth. But the type of funding that's available and the funding capital that comes is like an ebb and flow. How do organizations succeed when there's so many people fighting for the same pot of money? Our focus was to say that we have a nonprofit organization that has an entrepreneurship section to it. And this is what the focus has to be. If you're going to be a nonprofit, have a nonprofit that can produce skills that can generate money. Okay, nonprofits can generate income, but you have to have the right skills or the business planning to understand that the nonprofit that you're forming, it's something that can help the community, more of a social enterprise. Okay, and so if you form your nonprofit in that sense, once you get the first type of funding, you can build on that, make it sustainable. Because most funding that's given to nonprofits, once it's over, because the planning for sustainability is not built in. The product I hate to use the word product, but the product and service they produce fizzles out after funding. It's not something that garners gaining the strength of building the client base or the type of product you're trying to produce. And so for you to form a nonprofit, you have to look at it as an entrepreneurial component that has to be in place. And that means you have to have a product that you want to use as a nonprofit to be able to keep you sustainable after funding runs out.
Thank you, Professor. There's another one by Patrick here. So legal, education, financial as technology needs to be accelerated. What are the initiatives we as Canadians can access to be part of the African Union trade to build a direct relationship? And I think the follow-up to that is, how can we build a reserve to support wealth as it circulates within the economy to address capital exodes, which are facing both in Canada and in Africa? So I know who wants to take that.
I'll take. Maybe I can have a shot at this. I would have a shot at the wealth creating type of issue. Okay, as we know in the Black community, we're so divided in the sense of businesses. We're all working in silos. For us to address creating wealth, we have to have the same set mind of understanding that we are a union in the sense that we want to build a base or foundation of an economy. And that means that all businesses have to come together and talk, not in the sense of competing against each other. That knowledge base, this is why I believe the hub concept is essential, not just for the entrepreneurs that are starting, but also the business that also exist. That knowledge base is something that will make everything sustainable. Now, I've done a lot of work in Africa, and one of the things that I've found is that there's so much fragmentation going on in what you're trying to do in Africa. The wealth that can be utilized, gained here, and the knowledge that can be gained here can be used in Africa. That's my focus. And this is something we as a community need to do. Even if you're from the Caribbean or from other parts of the world that are considered Black, we're all one. That can be used to develop situations in maybe in Haiti, maybe in Jamaica, Nigeria, Ghana, Ethiopia, South Africa. The knowledge base is here. And so understanding that this is what we need to do in the sense that you have to come as one. As you come as one, wealth can be created. Once it's kept inside the same union, you deal with the same people in your community, the money will generate income. It will start to actually increase. As the knowledge says that the Black community is the only one that the money does not generate in the economy only once. Anywhere else, it generates 7 times. That's how you create wealth. We need to bring that concept into our businesses, into our union of businesses, and to be able to create wealth.
Thank you very much, Professor. I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Janik, I'm going to add in something here.
Okay.
As a financial planner, branding, marketing specialist, and working here and have worked in parts of Africa as well, and Mexico and New York, when you're given a grant, it gives you the opportunity to build and leverage that money for a future. And Joseph referred to it in general. I'm going to be more specific from a legal perspective. When you are a not-for-profit, that doesn't mean that you don't make money. It means that you don't make a profit. So you can actually have sufficient income coming in to support your endeavors, as long as you don't retain any money from year to year. These are legal tax statuses. So the idea of a grant is to give you a push. It's not to sustain you for the rest of your life as a not-for-profit. The idea is that this grant will give you sufficient time and money and effort and gather the right people together so that you can become self-sustainable. So part of the obligation and responsibility you have when you're discussing the application is to indicate to them how this money will be used to build sustainability over the long term. And this is then you can actually create an opportunity where you are teaching, learning, and I call it literacy. So you have that understanding that you have the opportunity to, and this is what the grant is for. The grant is here for you to build that opportunity, build your base, build the structure that you need to be self-sustaining over the long term. So that's part of the requirement, and that's one of the things you need to address when you fill in your application. And it's a thought process as well in terms of how you perceive this grant. So you need to embrace the idea that it gives you 4 years to build, and then you should be able to stand on your own. So you have to figure that out in your planning process, and you have to articulate it appropriately, not just for the grant, but if you are going to be building an opportunity, because there are more grants available. EntrepreneursPoint works very hard to identify the different grants that are available to entrepreneurs at different levels, and I'll address that 30 to 40-year-olds. That's where a lot of entrepreneurs sit. And if you reach out to us, we can give you a lot of help in terms of accessing different funding, both loans and grants. So there's a lot available here in Canada, much more so here than in other countries. You need to know where they are, and we can guide you through that so that you can identify what you need. It could be a loan, it could be a grant, it could be a combination of the two that will create sustainability over the long term. So for those entrepreneurs who are either for-profit social enterprises, which Joseph referred to, those are people who have a social enterprise concept, but it's for-profit, or those who are in business and want to build financial strength and wealth in their own right. We have opportunities through bank loans and through government support systems that we can help you draw on. We can also teach you how to sustain your business and to scale it. And scaling is where the success comes, is when you've got your proof of concept, you've proven that it's good, you've got a good idea, a good product, service, whatever it is that you want to do, and now you are in business and you are starting to make money. How do you scale? How do you get bigger? How do you build wealth over the long term? And that we can help you with. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl, for those additional comments. So moving on to another question, series of other questions around the program. So can an NPO support two different applications? Supporting partner on one and then supporting collaborator on another one?
Okay, I should take that, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, multiple grants. Well, the way it works is if you're a Black-led organization, that's a clarification we received. If you're a Black-led organization, you can submit proposals for both the Ecosystem Fund, that's the one that passed 21st December 2020, and this one, the Black Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub. However, the activities must be different. They must have different objectives, it must be a different concept in each of the streams. So I believe that's clear enough, yeah? So you can do the two, but then the activities must be different.
So the next one is, can an organization that just registered as an NPO partner for an application?
Can they submit an application if you just registered? Is that the question?
Yes, so the question is, if an organization has just registered as an NPO,
yeah,
can they partner for an application?
I believe so, yeah. The answer is yes to that. It's actually on the website, you can. However, there's an emphasis on 3 years experience and above. So there's that experience part where it was clearly indicated that they'll be given preference and will focus largely on organizations that have been in operations for over 3 years. So I think that's quite instructive for people groups looking to apply. I think that's instructive, so you can. And then more importantly, for the Black Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub, that's the application that is due on the 18th. That's the one that is due on the 18th of January this year. If you're going to be applying through a well-structured academic institution, the universities and so on, I want to believe that the expectation will be that you've been in operations for a bit for the organization, to showcase that experience part. So it's not that it's not accepted, it's just that it has a few other conditions attached to it. Thank you.
Thank you. This one, I think it's also for you. Will there be a list of organizations that will be chosen and details of the service offered? And I'm assuming this is related to when the program are live, or it's when the government decides who's going to benefit from the grants. Would there be a list?
Oh, I believe so. I mean, as they usually do for transparency and so on, they will always publish that. Please keep in mind that the application that closed on the 21st of December 2020 the application was open to, that's the National Ecosystem Fund, the Black Entrepreneurship National Ecosystem Fund, was made open to everyone, and so are all the other applications. However, for that first one, well, there will be several winners, because it's a fund of, I think, about $53 million for the first one.
Yeah.
This second one, this application that closes on the 18th of January, 2021, will only be won by one organization. It's only for 5 million, and it's only for one organization. So the Black Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub can only be won by one Black organization. However, that Black organization can be a consortium of 40, 50, 60 partners. You see, you understand what they're saying? They are trying to make us work together. They're trying to build cohesion. They're trying to ensure that we form ecosystems of support around the Black community, because they believe that collaboration is key to success. Collaboration is also major to sustainability of any venture that we decide to go into. I think that's the purpose of the federal government in initiating this.
Thank you. And I think there's another question for the Casa Foundation. I think it's, can you share with us what Casa Foundation and the EP are planning in this respect? Do you have plans to do an application? I don't know who.
Well, I think for the team at Casa Foundation, they do have plans to, as will be expected, to do a few parts of this, and then to collaborate with a few groups within the community. I believe that the Casa Foundation group is working towards that, as can be expected with other groups. Yeah.
Can I just add a comment to that? After listening to what we've been doing, I think it'll be essential for Casa Foundation to apply as an umbrella organization, because the way you've brought everybody together here is essential. This is what we're trying to do as a hub, and I'm in support of the Casa Foundation. If they decide to go for it, we'll be with you.
Thank you very much, Professor. Thanks.
We second that. We'll be supporting Casa Foundation as well in the good work. So next question, again, this is around the Knowledge Hub program. So just the question is, the Knowledge has 5 million. Is that correct? I think that's correct. How would this work with the Black community in terms of utilization?
Okay, I can take a bit of that.
Yeah.
So the idea then, recall, I'll just quickly give an overview. I think we still have a few, I don't know how many more questions you have, but just to put things in perspective for people to understand. For the first set of funds, Black Entrepreneurship National Ecosystem Fund was a total of 53 million, and people had an opportunity to apply for 5 million per organization. However, due to capacity, the federal government would not say, come apply for 5 million. And so it will be a range between 5,000 and 5 million, because they do understand that a few organizations only require 5,000, only require 10,000, only require 250,000. However, there are all those organizations that actually do require 5 million because of the initiatives that they put together. And so what you found a lot of groups do, because they understood that by the name of the fund itself depicts the intention of the government. And so that's why it's titled the Black Entrepreneurship National Ecosystem Fund. That was the first one. Application closed on the 21st of December. So a lot of organizations that we do know in the community decided to go for that with a lot of partners, and they did that because that's a one-off, one-time opportunity. Now, the second one, which is the National Knowledge, the Black Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub, which is the one we're talking about today, is actually for one, like I mentioned, only 5 million. Only one organization would win it, and that organization has to be affiliated to that university. And so because this has been initiated, you find that people are compelled. You can't actually go and apply without the backing of a university or a college, a post-secondary institution. So that's very instructive for us to understand. Now, the issue then is collaboration becomes key, like I mentioned, and I think that's actually what makes the difference for each person, each group. And I think that for consortiums looking to go, this is the time. I believe a few people still have the time, if they want to form these large groups and go. But what is most imperative is actually finding that academic partner. How will the funds be distributed? It is the academic partner. That's actually the key. The academic partner is in charge of research, quantitative analysis, qualitative analysis, and all that it entails. And so it will be led by the Black community. It will be released to the recipient or the winner. But it is actually the academic partner, which is a university in charge of research and all of that, that will be in charge to disburse, to make requests and things like that. So that's also based on the proposal that has been submitted. So for instance, if the project scope spans, of course, it's national in nature, and then there is training, the training component and all of that. So maybe the question then, or maybe the answer I should attempt is, where do the organizations in the room today come in? I think that's the question I should actually be attempting, to my mind. The organizations in the room come in today because after a proposal, after we've agreed on proposals that will be submitted through in conjunction with the academic partner, the organizations that are in the room today, whether NPO, whether social enterprises, whether supporting organizations, or whether they're even for-profit organizations that are looking to collaborate on a project of this magnitude, the role then becomes skills, competence-based. What do you do? What services are you offering? Where do you come in? Because the knowledge hub, for instance, would require training. The knowledge hub would require skills development. The knowledge hub would require forums, webinars, digital communication, digital enterprise, the full gamut of it. So where do you fall in? What do you do? And then how do you align? Because if you offer some services that will be required by a knowledge hub, based on the intro and the overview that I gave at the beginning of what a knowledge hub entails, I believe that by taking a decision, by identifying your area of competency, you will then be able to make a submission to the groups that you're looking to collaborate with, to say, this is how I come in, and I am willing to offer that letter of support to join in. But it's important that you find the group that you want to collaborate with, because at the end of the day, the list of activities will also be submitted as part of the proposal. And the list of those activities, if you're allowed to come into that group, then will be noted as one of the areas to be funded.
Thank you very much, Doctor. There's one more question. I think I'm going to take that one quickly. It's around the loan. fund, the Black Entrepreneurship Loan Fund. So it says it has 128 million yet to be open. Is there an amount allotted to businesses? So we don't know we don't have the full details yet of that specific fund, but we do know that this is specifically targeting businesses. It's a partnership between the government of Canada and banks in Canada to allow for Black businesses to get loans. So when we do get detail, I think that's part 3 of what the Casa Foundation is going to organize and provide a lot more detail in terms of how this fund is going to be administered and what would be the criteria. And so with that, I'm just going to thank you, Dr. Joseph Amanka, Dr. Olu Toying, Cheryl. I'm gonna before we wrap up, any final words? I'm gonna start with you, Professor Joseph, before we wrap up.
I just want to say something very, very quickly in the sense that we're promoting the Knowledge Hub during this session. I believe the Knowledge Hub already exists right now. Okay, it's just making it an official sort of entity, because with Dr. Oyatoni and a group, the Knowledge Hub lead is already in place. It's just now us to try and put the skills that's required to make the hub, in essence, is this what's missing. Also like to just add, Ryerson DMZ also has a Black innovation environment. And so this is where we can actually go and look at as a group, as a financial, academic support. And so I truly believe that this is an opportunity right now to take advantage of this, because we've come together today, and we've come to, I've come to a consensus that Casa Foundation can be the foundation or the umbrella to the hub if they decide they want to do it. I don't want to put the onus on them, because there's a lot of work. It's a tremendous amount of work. And any entity coming into this kind of collaboration has to be working. You have to put your due diligence into it. It's not there just to take a ride. So there's a lot of work to try and get collaborations and skill sets working. And maybe today would be the first step. So that's all I want to say. And I want to thank the Casa Foundation and the EP Point for bringing this together today. And I'm extremely proud as a senior of the community. I'm extremely proud of the youth putting this type of impetus in place.
Thank you, Professor. Dr. Olutoyin, any final words?
Yes, absolutely. I just would say that thank you so much to everyone joining us on this call right now, and those ones that will be watching and reviewing later. It's my hope that the people on this call today would also share some of the learnings, or even share some of the links to all the questions that we have answered today and all the feedback that were provided on this call. I'm hoping that you would share them with your friends and so on, so that we wouldn't have a repeat of what we had the last time, where people were like complaining they just couldn't go in, and that was a veritable, that first one was very critical for people to get on. So I'm just hoping that everybody will keep abreast of this and get all the learning points. So that's one. Secondly, I want to say thank you also to Joseph for your kind words. I really appreciate it, and all my colleagues on the call today. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you joining us, and we do hope that you will be at the next session, because we keep this as ongoing. For the third part, the Black Entrepreneurship Loan Fund is very critical. The Black Entrepreneurship Loan Fund is very critical after the one of today, because it's the largest amount. That part is the largest of the 221 million fund. And so we believe that's the largest part from what we've been told. And because also it will be executed and disbursed in conjunction with the top Canadian banks, the credit unions, and various financial ventures in partnership. I think that everybody should begin to work towards that. A lot of people will work towards the one that closes on the 18th of January, but I think we'll have a lot more businesses, joining in on the Black Loan Fund, because that is actually truly a loan. And to my mind, a lot of people understand how the loan works better than grants, because we're kind of familiar with loans, the tenets, the requirements, and so on. We've done it at one point or the other before. And so I believe that a lot of people are in tune and surely should position to apply for that. Now, the details of the Black Entrepreneurship Loan Fund is yet to be released by the federal government. We're working and following up to ensure that we receive all the details. And then, of course, that will also be clearly on the website of ISED, which is the Innovation, Science and Economic Development Department of the federal government. That's a ministry in charge of all of this. So we believe that will be clearly written on the website. We will get information and we'll call for another meeting. So we'll have the third fireside session, maybe a week or 10 days to that. So that's usually how we structure this. Now, for the loan fund, for sure, it's also a range of 5,000 to 250,000 per application that will be taken from each Black entrepreneur. Now, the issue is we're not sure of what the details are. So whilst the first two parts focused on NPO specifically, there's a move and there are suggestions that businesses should also be a part of this. I believe that those are some of the considerations in view right now, but they are yet to roll out the details. I know there was a question about why is it that only non-profit organizations are being promoted, and why are they allowed to anchor all of these initiatives? I believe that there must be a reasoning behind it. And I believe they are in a better position to clarify those thoughts to us. But what is important is that the opportunity is now, and we believe that the future belongs to those who take the opportunities of today, to my mind. So I would encourage everybody on the call to take the opportunities available and to share the links with their friends so they can also take these opportunities. For those ones who missed the call of the 21st of December, the application that closed on the 21st of December, for the people that missed the call and were unable to submit, my suggestion, and that's personal, my suggestion to them is that they possibly might want to consider partnering with organizations that have already submitted or that are eventually selected to represent communities for those applications. They could come in as business supporting organizations. They could come in, as collaborators on specific parts of the project within their communities, regions, or provinces. It's up to you. It's a choice, and it possibly might be some of the things that you want to consider in these times. So those are the thoughts I have on this Black Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub. We will be available for several other calls and to provide clarity on a few other things. I know that a few questions are still in the chat room, but it would appear that Yannick has said we should try to close because of time.
Yes, I think we answered most of the question.
It's all right.
Yes, I think we answered most of the questions.
We can take some other questions later on.
Yeah.
I know that a lot of people are still sending them, but it's okay. So we'll take them later. We can answer them by email. And for those ones who need to connect with us offline, that's also important to do. I'm sure that the team of organizers on this call will be able to arrange those connections and those meetings.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So before I turn it to Stephanie, I just want to quickly remind people that although, we have a limited number of organizations applying for the knowledge, the ecosystem, we must understand that whether it's the ecosystem or the knowledge program, these are all tools that are available to the entire Black community. So even if you're not part of these specific entities and organizations, we must understand that we can rely on the Knowledge Hub. The data, the research is meant to help Black businesses, meant to help the Black community. So we will be looking forward also to using these tools for our own endeavor. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Stephanie. And thank you, the panel again, and have a wonderful rest of your weekend.
Thanks so much. Again, thank you for joining us at this wonderful virtual event. I've gained a lot of insight into the BEP Fund, and I hope you have too. Don't forget to connect with us on our social media for more events like this, and fill out our survey that we will be sending out, just so we know how to make your experience at our events even better. Stay safe, and we look forward to hearing from you. Kindly sign up to join our EP forums and social media to get updates on our third session in this series and other programs. And make sure to connect with us. Thanks.